Indoor roller coasters are great options in inclement weather. Whether it's rainy or oppressively hot, these rides can operate undisturbed. Some of these coasters are part of an indoor theme park, while others are themed experiences part of outdoor parks. I have ridden 99 different indoor roller coasters across the world, and in this video, I will count down my top 50. I originally planned for a top 25 list, but there were some rarely talked about ones in spots 26 through 50 that I wanted to highlight. So in this video, I will again rank the top 50 indoor coasters that I have ridden. Before delving into the list, I want to note that I am only accounting for attractions that are entirely indoors. They are only allowed to have one outdoor element and still qualify for my list. This is why you will not see rides like Mystery Mine at Dollywood, Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, or Disneyland's Matterhorn on this list. Number 50, Falcon Flight at Adventureland in Dubai. This is one of the shortest zipline coasters out there, but this one had some insane swinging. Adventureland allows riders to get a running start, so I was swinging horizontally at several points, which was downright terrifying with a minimalistic restraint. Number 49, Shredder at Nickelodeon Universe. This should be one of the best Gerstlauer spinners. It is taller and longer than the others, and it also interacts with TMNT Shellraiser. But it does have two flaws. One, the ride has a half dozen brake runs that severely trim you. Two, the ride has a nasty vibration, which really hurts its re-rideability. Number 48, Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure. This ride is only on this list because of the first drop. In the back row, it delivers a very nice pop of airtime. The rest of the ride is a slow plodding journey through a particularly dark show building with some random heavy metal music playing. Number 47, Crazy Bats at Phantasialand. I rode this back when it was Temple of the Nighthawk. This is a very long indoor coaster with 3 lift hills in total darkness. It feels like a mine train layout, but thankfully this one is smooth with a few decently forceful turns. The ride is just lacking the drop and intensity department. Number 46, Laugh Track at Hershey Park. This is a common Maurer Sone spinning coaster. It's annoying to ride it due to its low capacity, but it is a decent ride. The Funhouse theming is over the top with jumbo blacklit cutouts, and while the first drop and horseshoe turn are great, this one is heavily braked, which mitigates the spinning and thrills. Number 45, Exterminator at Kennywood. This is the common Reverchon spinning coaster layout, but this one benefits from some really good theming. The coaster is themed to a rat-infested sewer. There are a few visuals, but the dark atmosphere results in a disorienting ride. The cars do have some friction that causes them to spin a bit slower than usual, but it is still a dizzying experience because of that setting. Number 44, Holland Blitz at Oktoberfest. This is a one-of-a-kind spinning coaster. Outside of the one outdoor drop, this ride has barely any drops or other exciting coaster elements. The ride just spins non-stop past some flashy visuals, but it is a smooth ride, unlike some of the other spinners that are noted on this list. Number 43, Blazing Fury at Dollywood. This is an old dark ride past some aged scenes. I like the ride's story, but the scenes can be a bit hard to take in because you pass them a tad too quickly. The saving grace is that 2 of the ride's final 3 drops have some pops of airtime. Number 42, Predator at IMGD Worlds of Adventure. This is a clone of Untamed at Canobie Lake Park, and unfortunately, this one suffers from the same problems. The transitions can really bash your head if you're not leaning forwards. That's a shame because I love this coaster's ejector airtime filled first drop and the hang time on the loop and barrel roll. Number 41, Galaxy Orbiter at Galaxyland. This Gerstlauer spinner has a faster layout than Shredder, but it has the ride's other flaw. It is a very shaky ride. That is a shame because I love how this ride gives an aerial tour of Galaxyland while fixing in some forceful turns. Number 40, Vogelrock at Efteling. This is a decent indoor coaster. It doesn't have much to look at, but it feels faster than its posted speed, and it has a few turns of note that either give a pinch of laterals or positive Gs. Number 39, Runaway Mountain at Six Flags Over Texas. This indoor coaster is a rare Premier Rides coaster that does not launch you. This coaster is in total darkness and is essentially a smoother, more refined Windstorm clone. The highlight of the ride is without a doubt the demonically twisted fourth drop that feels like it rips the floor out from underneath you. Number 38, Nickelodeon Slime Streak at Nickelodeon Universe. This is a scenic coaster giving a high-speed tour of the park. It is a short ride, but it has some sneaky, snappy maneuvers that will throw you about, even if it may not have any actual airtime. Number 37, Spin Runway at Yomiuri Land. This is a very interesting spinning coaster. The ride is themed to a fashion factory, and the lift hill is a super long spiral lift hill where you play this Flappy Bird style game as you dress a character in clothing. It's quite strange, but fun. The ride itself doesn't have any major drops, nor did it have much spinning, even with a balanced car, which is what holds it back. Number 36, Fairly Odd Coaster at Nickelodeon Universe. The original Gerstlauer spinner is still a rather fun one. This ride is very disorienting with a consistent spinning and busy environment around you. This one has mostly helixes, but the ride's largest drop in Bunny Hill deliver a nice little thrill if you take them sideways or backwards. Number 35, Eurosat at Europa Park. I rode this before the ride was retracked and rethemed. It was an enjoyable ride up front with some snappy turns, but in any other row but the front, the ride was quite shaky. I imagine that was changed in the retrack. The highlight of the ride was oddly the super long spiral lift hill with the ride's catchy music blaring. Number 34, Inferno at Cinecittà World. This is a weird intimate indoor coaster. It doesn't have much in terms of theming. This is another ride that takes place in near complete darkness. A few of the turns have decent positive Gs, but the highlight is a surprise element midway through the ride that I don't want to spoil here. Number 33, Spuck at Hamburg Dom. This is a traveling, gravity-powered dark ride. The coaster elements are nothing special, but the dark ride elements were. Most of the effects were your typical carnival quality, but they were well timed and all working. But Spuck mainly earned the spot for the final effect. After passing animatronics and characters for most of the ride, the last room had a live actor who swung a soft blade into my throat. I have never been more scared on a ride in my life. Number 32, Wonder Mountain's Guardian at Canada's Wonderland. This is more of a dark ride than a coaster. The outdoor coaster section is rattly and dull, but the indoor shooting section worked well, at least when I rode it in 2016. And the ride has an amazing finale that I do not want to spoil, but it absolutely makes the ride. Number 31, Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. You may be surprised to see this one so much higher than Blazing Fury, but this one has two advantages. One, the dark ride scenes are clearer to me. Two, the final three drops give some very surprising airtime if you're in the back row. It is stronger than the airtime on Blazing Fury. Number 30, Dragon Gliders at Motion Gate. This mock inverted power coaster is more of a dark ride. The ride is themed to How to Train Your Dragon, and it utilizes giant screens with a few animatronics. The spinning occurs unpredictably throughout the ride, and the finale, when you pass over the rest of the How to Train Your Dragon area, is visually impressive. This coaster is not higher because of its lack of thrills. This is a very similar ride to Arthur, which will not be on this list because of that ride's decently long outdoor section. Number 29, Tom and Jerry's Swiss Cheese Spin at Warner Bros. World Abu Dhabi. This is an odd Zamperla spinning coaster. This one has a twisted layout reminiscent of that of Knott's Berry Farm Sierra Sidewinder. The coaster is surprisingly smooth with some decent spinning throughout and oversized backlit cutouts. The aesthetic is similar to that of Laugh Track, but the most intense part of the ride is oddly the brake run. The vehicles spin non-stop, so this is one ride I actually hoped stacked. Number 28, Fast and Furious at Warner Bros. World Abu Dhabi. This is a near clone of the popular Vekoma suspended coaster layout, but this one has a few differences. For one, it's manufactured by Intamin. Two, it has some excellent rock work around the attraction. It feels like a mini Big Thunder Mountain. 3. The first drop packs a wallop. It is in complete darkness and really whips you over it, and the compact helixes pull some mild Gs. Number 27, Space Fantasy at Universal Studios Japan. Now unfortunately, this ride was running with VR when I visited in 2018, so the spinning was disabled. I was able to ride without the VR though, and oddly, all the effects were still firing. The ride had 3 sizable drops that built up good speed, and I loved the psychedelic strobe room. If the spinning was enabled, this ride likely would have cracked the top 10, if not higher. Number 26, SpongeBob SquarePants Rock Bottom Plunge at Nickelodeon Universe. This is a solid Gerstlauer Eurofighter. This one has the usually great beyond vertical drop, some nice inversions, and a surprising speed hill. This one does have some jerky transitions though, so I strongly recommend leaning forwards to minimize headbanging. Number 25, Pepsi Orange Streak at Nickelodeon Universe. This feels like a high-speed monorail. The coaster itself doesn't really offer any forces. The coaster does give a complete aerial tour of the park, and those visuals make the ride. It is just pure fun, and it's a really long coaster too. Number 24, Spaceship 2056 at New Ryoma World. This is a knockoff Space Mountain. You ride atop an elevator to the load platform, and then you disembark at the bottom, so you never actually ride up a lift hill. This coaster has a highly themed queue line, but the ride itself takes place in complete darkness. This layout is a constant downhill spiral like Disneyland Space Mountain. This one doesn't offer laterals, but it does offer some Gs on the tight transitions. And the coaster is pretty smooth too. Number 23, Cagliostro at Rainbow Magic Land. This is an interesting Mauer spinning coaster. I was caught off guard my first ride because I expected the lift hill to go all the way up to the roof of the building. It's a rather large building. Instead, you drop into a pit. This spinning coaster takes place in complete darkness and has some wild spinning throughout. Number 22, Crush's Coaster at Walt Disney Studios Park. This is a slightly extended version of Laugh Track. Crush's Coaster does have a brief dark ride section at the start, and the main section has a series of lights and music that are quite disorienting when accompanied by the spinning. This one was not braked too harshly, which was surprising considering the number of vehicles it ran, so the main section had me spinning like a top, unlike Laugh Track. Number 21, Spatial Experience at Nigloland. Starting with a long spiral lift hill, this mock coaster is in near total darkness for most of the ride. The coaster tracks well, but it has some really aggressive bits, particularly 2 turns that'll have you folding over the side of your vehicle. This ride holds its speed well over its delightfully twisted layout. Number 20, Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney's Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney Studios Park. Both rides are well themed up to the first launch, and that first launch packs a decent punch. I also love how forceful the first 2 inversions are. However, the rest of the coaster does sort of meander, and you only have some spotlights or blacklit effects to look at. Number 19, Tornado at Bakken. This Intamin spinning coaster has one of the craziest starts of any coaster. You zip up this launched lift hill and are violently flung over a twisting first drop. This drop gives an abrupt pop of airtime, plus wicked laterals. The rest of the ride is a significantly tamer experience though. My vehicle didn't spin much, and the ride felt downright slow at points. The ride does start spinning quickly at the end and deliver a pop of airtime on that finale. Number 18, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts at Universal Studios Florida. This attraction is more of a dark ride than a roller coaster. It has several high-definition screens with some impressive visuals as you break into the bank, but it also includes a few coaster elements that are quite good without delving into spoilers. Number 17, Van Helsing's Factory at Movie Park Germany. This Gerstlauer bobsled coaster is a very cool ride. It has an ominous tone, and it features some screens and animatronics, a few of which can be considered jump scares. This ride may not have much speed, but the drops are very sharp, and several of the turns deliver powerful laterals, which are even wilder because they often occur in the dark, so you cannot brace yourself. Number 16, Gekion Live Coaster at Tokyo Joypolis. What a bizarre coaster. The first half is a Guitar Hero-like rhythm game that is a dark ride. The second half is a spinning coaster that kicks things off with a weak little launch and a very disorienting barrel roll before navigating some turns and helixes. This coaster almost cracked the top 15 because of how weird it is. Number 15, Flight of Fear at Kings Island and Kings Dominion. This launch coaster has an admittedly lackluster launch compared to a lot of the other launch coasters out there, but the first half has some very forceful inversions that usually start causing me to gray out. The mid-course trim does cause the start of the second half to be rather dull, unlike the outdoor clones, but the final corkscrew is just as disorienting and snappy as ever. Number 14, Madagascar Mad Pursuit at Motion Gate. This coaster has a very intense first half. The launch is deceptively powerful, and it is followed by some crazy fast turns that offer some wild laterals that'll have you folding over the side of the train. These turns are also very shaky though. The rest of the first half has 3 airtime hills in the dark, but the second half is really dull and uneventful. Plus, there really isn't much to look at in the main course. Number 13, Space Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland. My least favorite of the 4 Space Mountains I have ridden, Tokyo's is smooth and has the usually great atmosphere, but it does have 2 flaws. One, this one runs slower than the others, and the lack of audio is a buzzkill. However, the continuous downhill layout does mean the ride picks up its pace as it goes, and the final turns give some nice laterals. Number 12, Canyon Blaster at Adventure Dome. One of Arrow's later loopers, Canyon Blaster is significantly smoother than most others. Combine that with the pop of airtime in the first drop, the very forceful vertical loops, and fast corkscrews, and you have a fast-paced and disorienting ride that also interacts with the park's Rock Mountain. Number 11, TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe. This is a clone of Takabishi at Fuji-Q Highland. This ride has some amazing elements. It has a powerful launch, several inversions with some hang time, and the world's steepest drop, which delivers some powerful ejector airtime. The ride is also extremely disorienting with its mess of track and building structures surrounding it. However, this ride is very rattly, and it does knock the ride down several spots. This rattling has only got worse since the coaster opened. Number 10, Spider-Man Doc Ock's Revenge at IMG Worlds of Adventure. This is a clone of Knott's Berry Farm's Sierra Sidewinder, but you'd be hard-pressed to tell considering how well this one is dressed up. The ride doesn't have too much theming for most of the ride, but this one is the Mach equivalent of Ragin' Cajun. This ride spins non-stop start to finish. Combined with those forceful helixes you navigate in the dark, and this ride is shockingly intense. Number 9, El Loco at the Adventure Dome. Finally, an SNS El Loco without a trimmed first drop. El Loco's first drop is fantastic. Being flung over a beyond vertical drop that fast with just lap bars is a recipe for powerful ejector airtime. The rest of the ride feels rather slow, but that's deliberate, as the 2 inversions deliver copious amounts of hang time. Number 8, Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios Hollywood. This is a great indoor roller coaster. This ride has fantastic theming in both the queue line and during the coaster's dark ride segments. I particularly love the theming leading up to the first launch. While the coaster section doesn't feel overly fast, it does have a few pops of airtime and an extended backwards bit that's pretty disorienting in the dark. Number 7, Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios Florida. I slightly prefer Orlando's Mummy. While the backwards segment is far less involved, I think this one has stronger airtime and it's more intense, and it has equally great theming in both the queue line and during the ride itself. Number 6, Sandy's Blasting Bronco at Nickelodeon Universe. This is an extremely compact coaster that packs a serious punch. You experience the layout twice, once forwards and once backwards. The launch track is extremely short, so the launch has a ton of force to it, especially in the backwards launch when you're flung over your restraint. The rest of the ride has 3 Immelmans. Some are floaty, and another one has violent whip to it. This ride also delivers strong G's in the valleys, but these parts rattle quite a bit. Number 5. Windjust at Phantasialand. This is the most unique Mauer spinning coaster. I don't want to spoil what this coaster does, but I will say it does a lot of things I've never seen another spinning coaster do. This ride had me laughing start to finish, and it spins wildly throughout. Number 4. Star Wars Hyperspace Mountain at Disneyland Paris. This Space Mountain was built by Vekoma, and it is way different than the other ones. It is a launched looping coaster, and I think it's the most intense coaster Disney has ever built, by a long shot. This ride received brand new trains in 2017 with vest restraints, and this significantly improved the ride experience. This coaster is still a bit jerky, but the vest restraints eliminate all headbanging. This allowed me to appreciate the forceful uphill launch, sudden drops, and very intense inversions. And these elements were complemented by a great musical score and a few sights along the way. Number 3. Space Mountain at Disneyland. This is the smoothest Space Mountain, and it also is the best soundtrack. I love the Michael Giacchino score. It is synced to the attraction perfectly. This one had a near identical layout to Tokyo's, except this one felt way faster with that music and the abundance of wind machines. And I actually think it is faster too, because the tight turns in the second half deliver some crazy laterals. Number 2. Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. The original Space Mountain is still my favorite. While the others focus on turns or inversions, the Florida version focuses on drops. There are 4 that deliver some great airtime, especially if you're in the back car. The ride isn't as smooth as the others, but the well-padded trains prevent any pain, and the dark atmosphere and near misses with the supports really up the thrill factor. Number 1. Mindbender at Galaxyland. This ride is colossal, and it has an absolute presence. You can hear this ride's roar throughout the whole park, and it is also an exceptional coaster. The drops are demonically twisted, and several give strong laterals. Then the vertical loops deliver some of the best positive Gs of any coaster. The ride also has a nice helix at the end, surrounded by mirrors, and is an extremely smooth ride after all these years. So those are my top 50 favorite indoor roller coasters. What is your favorite enclosed roller coaster? I would love to hear your thoughts on your favorite or any of the coasters on this list. If you enjoyed this countdown, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.